Can Tyler Glasnow be an ace for your fantasy team in the second half? What is O'Neal Cruz's potential? Join us today. We provide you with the players primed to break out in the second half of this season on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Arnett.
Yo.
You can find us on all social media platforms and podcasting apps. If you're listening on one like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and review, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. It helps to grow the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit the little bell below. It subscribes you to the channel, also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, subscribe to us on the Subtext website. On Subtext, it's a one-on-one personalized in-depth texting experience where you can ask us questions at any time of the day, and we'll get back to you unless we're sleeping, but we get back to you as soon as possible. Also, you get in-depth analysis on these podcast episodes where we can only give you about 30 minutes on Subtext. We go a lot deeper than we do on here. You get instant alerts on prospect call-ups, injuries, and all that fun stuff. But guys, we got a fully loaded episode for you today. Let us be your team secret weapon as we provide you with breakout players for the second half. And Matt, who do we got up first, brother?
Yo, guys. All right. Let's talk about Mr. Tyler Glasnow. Glassy has never been, a picture of health. Hence why his nickname is Glassy here. And because you touch him or you look at him or the sun's a little too hot on a certain day and he breaks like glass. So, he's literally the Alberto Mondesi of pitching. But when he's healthy, he's really good. I was about to say Alberto Mondesi, but Tyler Glasnow loves to get strikeouts in 2021, which was his most innings he's done in three seasons. And actually 4 seasons if you include last year. He had 123 strikeouts and 88 innings pitched. He had a 2.66 ERA with a 0.93 whip. Like, the kid is a stud. He really is when he is healthy. So, like, Glasnow, now that the fact that he's already spent half the season injured, I feel the fact that he might be able to come out and do his thing after returning from Tommy John's. He's been pretty solid. I had a bunch of bad starts. He's had 4 out of his 8 starts bad, but the other 4 out of his other 8 starts were under 2 in the ERA department, along with 6 Ks, 6 Ks, 12 Ks, 8 Ks, and even in the games he got blown up, 11 Ks, 7 Ks, 6 Ks, 8 Ks. Like, Tyler Glasnow is a strikeout machine. So one thing I will say is I feel like, the second half he's going to work on things, probably get used to his new forearm and things like that, along with whatever else he was hurt to start the season with. So I feel like
oblique issue.
There you go. So, dealing with all that and then trying to come back from the Tommy John's injury and then trying to learn how to, get his forearm working and his release and all that wonderful stuff. It's going to take a little time. Usually when we say somebody comes back from Tommy John's, they have control issues. Hence why we're seeing my guy with, somewhat high whips at times with, a 141 game, a 185 game, a 188 game, a 131 and a 138 game. That's all his whips. Like, they're a little high, but he's figuring it out. And I feel like in the second half, he might hit that second level where he goes, boom, here, I figured it out. Now he's an all-star pitcher. So second half, he's going to be one of the people I'm probably trying to acquire before it becomes absolutely impossible. Right now, I feel like you can probably get him at probably his cheap point right now because they're probably, not liking this Jekyll and Hyde performances. So Tyler Glasnow is somebody you might want to either acquire or if you have him, love him and hold on to him.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Glasnow there. I really don't have too much to add besides, his little cup of coffee at the end of last year was fantastic. He looked like he was primed to break out this year. He was moving up draft boards before that oblique issue. And honestly, he would have been drafted as like a top 20, 25 pitcher if it wasn't for the oblique issue. So Glasnow just has all the upside in the world. Hopefully, over this year, next year, he can really prime to, break out and do what we all expected of him. We know what he's capable of. Last thing before we move on from Glasnow, he has a 3.62 FIP, which is fielding independent pitching. It's an ERA indicator, kind of gives you an idea of where their ERA going rather than to where it is right now, which is Glasnow's is 4.10. I think he's really going to figure it out coming off the oblique and Tommy John and just have a monstrous second half. But let's move on to another player that is also, a pretty injury prone. Let's talk about Carlos Rodon. Carlos Rodon signed that major deal with the Yankees in the offseason, and then coming into the year, he's like, my arm hurts, and, he was, out for quite a long time with that forearm issue, but he's back now. He looked pretty solid in his first start. He really didn't go that many innings. I believe he went 5.1 innings. He gave up, hold on, I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Yeah, 5.1 innings. He gave up 4 hits. He walked 2. He only had 2 strikeouts, but it takes time, coming off injuries to find your rhythm, as we were saying with Glasnow. I don't know if Rodon's going to repeat what the numbers he did last year, but he could still have, a low 3s ERA, ton of strikeouts. The whip is what I'm concerned about because, as Matt mentioned with Glasnow, when you're coming off a major injury, especially an arm injury, the last thing to come back is really the control. So let's see where he winds up. I wouldn't be shocked if he was, right under his career mark of a 1.23 whip. So maybe it's like a 1.18 whip, a 1.20 whip in that range for Rodon. But I really think if he catches his stride here, you can honestly have yourself a top 20 pitcher if you can go out and acquire Rodon right now, because he is going to be pretty strong in the second half, according to myself here.
Yeah, I like Rodon going into the second half. I feel like, the All-Star break, he'll probably work on something. On top of that, too, in his, 2 rehab starts, he looked actually, really good and had the command, struck out. I think he fanned about 10 in one stat, just like Manoah did. So, Rodon looks like when he was coming up and rebounding from this injury that he was going to be solid. So let's just hope that, it's a little bit of the jits and the yips and that he can come back out and, figure it out and be that elite pitcher. I love him for the second half. But let's move on here. Let's talk about Mr. Reid Detmers. The meter is running.
The meter is running.
I love it, man. This kid, honestly, is having a nice season. If it wasn't for his last game against the Dodgers, where he got blown up for almost a 19 ERA, his stats would look a lot different. Because, over the last month, even with that big explode of a game, he has a 3.38 ERA on the month, which just tells you where it is. If he would have just got a regular 3, even a 4 ERA, he would probably have a sub-2 ERA on the month. The kid has had a really phenomenal month. He just strings a couple of bad starts together and then kind of figures it out, because at the beginning of May, that's what he did, going into the first start of the June, and then really rocked and rolled all throughout June and July up until this last start against the Dodgers. Even lit the Dodgers up. A couple weeks back from that, on the 20th of June, he had 8 Ks, gave up no runs, 7 innings pitched. Detmers actually has a lot of upside. I love the kid. It's funny. I forget that he's only 24 years old. I feel like we've been talking about him forever. Last year, in his first full season, where he got 29 innings pitched, the guy had 122 strikeouts. He had a 3.77 ERA and was right on par with his FIP, which is fielding independent pitching, at a 3.79. This year, his FIP is about a 3.78. So maybe the with a 4.31 ERA, maybe that bad start kind of brings him back to his norm with the FIP on the year numbers, and he'll come out and take it to the next level and get it back down to more on par with his fielding independent pitching. So Detmers, for sure, I think, has upside for the second half, maybe takes it to that next level as well and shows off all that great stuff. And before I let Dom give his take on Mr. Detmer, the meter, we have a pitcher that's been more Jekyll and Hyde than anybody under the sun, a Detroit pitcher that I don't know how to feel about, and a guy coming off the injury that I drafted everywhere and just can't slide anywhere. But before that, we do have, don't forget that thing for me, Dom. We do have a great sponsor here for you. For championship teams, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit right. So the next time you need parts or accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Motors, guaranteed fit you can be sure every part fits just right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit just right or your money back, which is phenomenal. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game, and at eBay Motors, it's here and the same. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home the W when it comes to the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fits, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions may apply. All right, that's enough, Dom. Go for it. Oh, wait. I forgot something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you're missing something.
I am. I'm sorry, guys. It's just one of those days. All right. And, guys, you've been hearing us talk about it at the top of the show almost every episode now since we've come out and talked about it. We got a new platform we're working on here. It's called Subtext. We got the Everydayers Diamond Club, which, we have quite a few members at this point, and everybody really seems to enjoying it. It's something really cool. We're putting out great information, waiver wire rankings, and so on and so forth, and all this exclusive stuff that we can't fit in 30 minutes like we do in the podcast. So it's a little added bonus, and it's a great way also just to help support the podcast. So, if you want to head over to the link in the description below or our link tree or any of our social medias, it's there. Give it a try. Get a free 14-day trial and, see how you like it. If you want to see something that we aren't putting out over those 14 days, let us know and we could do it. Plus, you can also ask us some questions and get some direct answers, within, a few minutes to an hour. We like to get back to you as soon as possible. So, head over to Subtext and see what's up. Become that Diamond Club member.
All right, brother. Let me hop back in here and let me give my take on Reid Detmers because it's actually somebody that I really am excited to talk about. As Matt mentioned, Reid Detmers just turned 24 on July 8th, so happy belated to Reid Detmers. And this kid, I swear, he's like one or two small adjustments away from being a high-end pitcher in fantasy baseball. He has that Shane McClanahan, Blake Snell, Corbin Burns vibe to me. And honestly, the best thing about Detmers is his velocity is up. His velocity is up over 1.5 miles on his fastball. His velocity on his slider is up 3 miles an hour from last year. So, that's a trend in the right direction. I know he's been a little bit shaky to start the year, but I know Matt mentioned that start against the Dodgers. But before that, he ran off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 amazing starts in a row. 4 of those were quality starts. And the one that wasn't a quality start was because he went 5.2 innings. But the strikeouts are, amazing. 85 innings for Detmers, 107 strikeouts. And I think everything else is going to even itself out. I think the ERA is going to be a lot better in the second half. I think the whip is going to be a lot better in the second half. I wouldn't be surprised if Detmers finishes next season as like a top 35 type pitcher with, upside into his mid-20s of becoming like a real high-end ace. I'm very, very high on Reid Detmers, and I really, really think you can go out and acquire him for pretty cheap right now. Most leagues, he is still 68% owned on Yahoo, so there might be leagues where he's out there. If you're in a shallower league, go out there, check your free agent list, and he might be out there. That's a sneaky ad heading into the second half if he is available. But let's move on to somebody that, Matt and I just love to hate, hate to love. It's Edward Cabrera. Edward Cabrera was somebody that Matt and I were drafting in a lot of like leagues or mock drafts rather coming into the year. Even when draft season came, I know Matt took him in a couple of leagues. I took the shot on him in a couple of leagues, and it just really hasn't panned out the way we thought. He's just been so up and down, man. And then he wound up getting hurt after like one of his best starts of the year, where he pitched against, he had a couple starts after that, but he had a monster start on June 2nd against Oakland, 6 innings, the win, 10 strikeouts, no earned with an 0.83 whip. Then he went out against Kansas City after that, 5 innings, got the win, only 4 strikeouts, 1 earned, and an 0.8 whip. But then in that start against Seattle is the one where he got hurt, so we can't even really count that. So it was 2 really good starts before he got hurt. It's a shoulder impingement. So, it's a tricky one, but he's going to, I think he already started his rehab assignment, and he could be back within the next week or two, which is kind of why they also sent Yuri Perez down. That kid is phenomenal. Yuri Perez is another name to, look out for. If he's dropped in your league, you might want to add Yuri Perez as well. But you know what? Edward Cabrera is a guy that has a lot of upside, big strikeout guy, big arm, big talent. He gets to learn from Sandy Alcantara and Jesus Luzardo and all those other good Marlins pitchers. They got great pitching, coaching over there. But Edward Cabrera, another cheap guy, 46% owned on Yahoo right now. A lot of leagues where he's available. Stash him on that IL, and then when he comes back either next week or the week after, you activate him and just see where the thing goes with the kid, because I really, truly think Edward Cabrera, has the upside to be a very, very strong pitcher for the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I like your take. I'm gonna, temper back the expectations on it. I think that honestly, I was a little too high on him going into the season, and I wouldn't call this fatigue or hate because I've been burned. But I mean, I'm honestly gonna be streaming him. He's somebody I'll pick up on a gig matchup. I'll drop the first person I'll drop on my bench to pick up somebody else to pitch and ditch, because quite honestly, I don't think I can roll him out there every week until he kind of pretty much shows it. So right now, Edward Cabrera is hesitant with a lot of upside, but quite honestly, just be aware. And honestly, if you scoop him up, feel free to also drop him for somebody else as well. Just keep playing those matchups. But let's move on here. Let's talk about another guy that can't stay on the field, and that's Mr. Matt Manning. Matt Manning, 25 years old, which is wild as well. It's crazy. He's only been up in the bigs since 2021. It blows my mind. I've been waiting for this kid for a while, and he just hasn't been able to stay on the field. 85 innings pitched in his rookie year, 63 innings pitched in 2022, and so far 29. Last year he went down with a fractured toe. The year before that, strained his forearm. The year before that, right shoulder inflammation. Like, the kid's injury history is outrageous, but the upside is there. I mean, Matt Manning honestly is a good talent. I don't know how to explain it other than in 2019, like when he had 133 innings pitched, and this is in the minors, 148 strikeouts, a 2.56 ERA, and a 0.98 WHIP. Like, those are solid numbers. That's kind of what I'm hoping to see from him. And outside of let me look at this again. One bad start, he went out there and really handled his own. And the one bad start was in Colorado, at Colorado. That says everything for itself, because he went out against Texas, his first start against the Rangers, which Texas has just been hot, and he handles it. Only gave up a couple runs, 3.18 ERA, 4 Ks in 5 innings pitched, 1.24 WHIP, not atrocious, right? And then his last start on the 8th last week, got the W, 5 Ks in 6 innings pitched, no earned runs, 0.45 WHIP. And it was against Toronto. Matt Manning can hold his own when he does get out there. I think he has a lot of upside. I think he's one of those guys that, if he could stay on the field, he may be able to provide some, juice to your rotation. So I'm running out there, and I'm, speculatively adding him, and I'm starting him against really good matchups. If he continues on this, I might roll him out full time. We shall see. And let's hope and pray that he can just stay healthy. And that's Matt Manning.
Yeah. Matt, that was a great take on Matt Manning. Over the last 2 years in the bigs, it hasn't been a lot of innings, but the ERA is like a 3.5. The WHIP is like a 1.14 type WHIP. The Ks per 9, he has upside to grow there, but maybe he's tempering things down to pitch better, to pitch a little bit less to contact. And, just kind of, or pitch, rather, I said that backwards, to pitch a little bit more to contact, getting more ground balls instead of missing bats, where sometimes if you try to miss the bats, you don't locate your pitches properly and it winds up out of the park. But Matt Manning has been doing a good job avoiding that, with the last 2 years of his career. I think, the upside is there. His velocity is a tiny bit down from last year. So once again, that's a spot where, once his, toe heals a little bit better and he could plant a little bit better, I think the velocity takes us back up. He has good breaking stuff. The fastball's okay, where he sits normally around 93, 94 when he's at his peak. Matt Manning is 8% owned on Yahoo. Just somebody that you could potentially give a shot to in deeper leagues, AL onlys, that type of stuff, and kind of just see where the thing goes with, Matt Manning. Does have a lot of upside. Now, let's move on to the biggest bat, we have here as we get into the bats. And let's talk about Oneil Cruz, right? Oh, my God. If you don't know about Oneil Cruz, you're going to learn right now. Because Oneil Cruz was hyped to be Elly De La Cruz before Elly De La Cruz was Elly De La Cruz. This was going to be that guy. He has the power. He has the speed. He's not on one of the best teams to really, be fantastic. But you know what? He had a monster end of the season last year, and I'm going to give you some of his minor league stats that are absolutely mind-blowing because the kid could just do it all. At 6'7", 215 pounds, he had some of the hardest hit balls in all of baseball. And I think this kid is just literally going to be a star in this league sooner than later. He fractured the ankle this year to start the year, which was a killer. He only got to play 9 games, so we really didn't see much of him. But through those 9 games, he had 8 strikeouts, 7 walks. You love to see that. He really didn't get to do too much else besides that. In 9 games, there was only so much to do there. But, O'Neal Cruz, monster upside. Real quick, his best minor league season was in 2021, 69 games. He had 62 runs, almost a run per game, 16 doubles. He had 5 triples, 17 bombs, 47 RBIs, 19 steals, and he hit 310. I truly think O'Neal Cruz is a 5-tool guy. And if you can go out there and trade for him right now, you want to make that move. But before I pass things off to my brother Matt and I let him do his O'Neal Cruz rant because I know he loves him as well, got a quick sponsor for you guys. Today's episode is sponsored by the clothing company Bird Dogs. Looking for clothes that redefine comfort and style? Look no further than Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs makes you look good in Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts that are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of a stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Bird Dogs uses an anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. And once again, guys, I know I keep saying this, but it's so true. Matt and I got some, free merch from Bird Dog, so shout out to them. And I mean, dude, get compliments all the time when I wear them. They feel great. They make you look great. So you need to go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. And when you enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. And also, that Bird Dog Yeti style tumbler will keep your drink nice and cold here in the summertime. Matt's showing it off right there. Whether you're at work, you're going to the park, you're going to play some basketball, baseball, that Yeti style tumbler is going to keep your drink nice and cool. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB now. All right, my brother, let's hear that O'Neal Cruz take. I know you got some good stuff to say about the kid.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I love O'Neal Cruz to the point where, I literally drafted him in every league I was humanly possibly in. And I beat Dom to the punch every single time.
You sure did. But Matt, whose team is he on now?
Oh, because I traded him for Verlander. Yeah. I mean, come on. Yeah.
Dynasty League, I'll take it.
Yeah. So, I mean, not Verlander. O'Neal Cruz, I think, is just going to be an outright stud. O'Neal Cruz is awesome. We only got about a month left till we see him, hopefully, and with no setbacks. I think he should be starting baseball activity by the end of this month. Be back by, I would say, first or second week of August. I already heard he's running. I heard he's, taking batting practice. So let's see how fast they want to get him back. Hopefully he just learns how to slide. So we shall see.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be phenomenal. But let's move on. Dom, you did a great job talking about him.
You did too, brother.
Thank you. So how about Mr. Jordan Walker, one of my favorite prospects coming into the year. And boy, oh boy, the last couple of weeks haven't been the greatest, but at the same time, he's still getting his sea legs. I feel they really did him a disservice by sending him down for the, ground ball issues and the defense issues. We all mean control. So at that point, they should have just held him down for 14 days and then just let this kid ride. It's really frustrating. But anyway, I feel like the second half, this kid has all the makings of a breakout and really take it to the next level because I'm going to read you off what he did in 2022. Might I add, he was also 20 when he did this. 461 at-bats, 100 runs, 31 doubles, 3 triples, 19 bombs, 68 ribbies, 22 stolen bases, batted .306. Like, Jordan Walker has all the upside in the world and the making to be, a stalwart player that we're talking about that could be in a top 20 pick next year if he does what I think he's going to do. Well, let's be honest. He's still young. He could still take some time to adjust. We've seen it with Vladimir Guerrero. We've seen it with a few different people where it may take a little bit longer, but I don't foresee it because he's shown a lot of that energy at the beginning of the season and when he came back fresh, but now he kind of slowed down. Just like Dom's internet connection. If you're on YouTube, you'll see just a giant circle. So with that being said, I'm going to move on and take the next guy since, it seems like it's going to be the Matt On show here, locked on. We'll talk about Mr. Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo, is having a decent season, I would say. Hey, Dom, welcome back.
Can you see me? Am I there?
No, I cannot. Why don't you hop out and hop back in, guys? Sorry about this. I'm going to keep moving, Dom.
Yes. Oh, wait, hold on.
So anyway, guys, Anthony Rizzo has had, somewhat of a good season. He's batting about 257 on the year, much better than his 224 last year. He has 311 at bats. He has 41 runs already, which is really nice. Way better pace than what he did last year as well. I mean, the injury did, hurt what he was started off the season doing. 13 doubles, 11 home runs, which is pretty decent. 39 ribs. I like it. And I can't really hate on how he's playing. Second half, maybe he picks up the power, maybe starts launching the ball. And, obviously he's definitely benefiting from no shifts. So, Rizzo is just going to be a solid player moving on. In terms of an all-star high upside, maybe he turns on that power to get to closer to that pace of that 39 home runs that he was on for last year, 32 home runs from last year. Maybe he hits 26, 27 for the second to get to be his season ending, which would bring you about 16 more home runs in that second half in the next couple months. That would be stellar production for you. So 100%, if he's out there, 100% go scoop him up. If you need a first baseman, he isn't a bad target to go and try and acquire on the cheap because I don't think anybody's too attached to Anthony Rizzo. So go for it.
Yeah, just real quick, I just totally wanted to say that Jordan Walker, monster. He young monster player. Matt gave a great take on him, but if you can acquire Jordan Walker on the cheap right now, as I mentioned, he's kind of been a little up and down since he got the call back up. But I think if he could tap into that power in the second half, and I think the Cardinals might be selling. So definitely want to give Jordan Walker the shot. But let's move on to Rizzo, as Matt was talking about him. And the thing with Anthony Rizzo is he got hit on his elbow. This is going back to June 29th. And, ever since then, he's kind of been slumping pretty hard. He got some time off with the All-Star break. There was a lot of expectations for Rizzo to just keep pushing through as the Yankees didn't have Aaron Judge. And, Stanton at the time was, I think just coming off an injury as well. So, Rizzo kind of just probably tried to play through it. Like, he's been hit a bunch of times in his career, probably one of the most hit by pitch players because he crowds that plate. And I think he's been, kind of just, covering up that injury, playing through it. I think that second half, as Matt mentioned, he's going to tap back into that power, finish with close to 30 bombs. When Judge comes back and that lineup gets rocking and rolling, I got faith, as you know. If you don't know, Matt and I are Yankee fans, born and raised in New York. And I think I have a lot of faith in Rizzo that the RBIs are going to be good. The runs are going to be good. The homers are going to be good. And the batting average can be a lot closer to his career 264 mark. But with that being said, let's move on to our next guy. And, this episode kind of has a little bit of a theme, if you haven't already noticed. A lot of injury-prone guys that we just think are going to bounce back. And let's talk about Max Muncy, another guy that really just can't ever stay healthy, and he started off the year like a house on fire. He was hitting for power. He was hitting for average. And then he just fell off a cliff after, he came back from injury. He was out with a hammy issue. I think, another time off helps. When you're playing baseball, every other day or, almost every single day, it's taxing on the body. You get some time off here with the All-Star break. And I think Max Muncy is just going to have a pretty solid second half. He's around a career 240, 250 hitter. I think the batting average gets a lot closer to that. He already has 21 homers. I think he could finish with, close to 35, which he's done multiple times in his career. I think the RBIs are going to be close to 100. I think the runs are going to be close to, probably like 80, 85. And I think right now you could go out there and trade for Max Muncy pretty cheap. He's batting 198 on the year. I don't think that's where he's going to end up. I think, with the second and third base eligibility on Yahoo, Max Muncy has a lot of upside.
Yeah, great take, Dom. I don't need to do it. I'm just going to kind of run this out real quick with our last guy here.
Yes,
Mr. CJ Cron. Cron getting activated off the IL recently on June 26th from back spasms and neck muscle spasms. Maybe he's just a spaz this season. We shall see. Because he's not living up to the hype of what he did last year, where he had 29 home runs, 102 ribs, 79 runs and batted about 257. Like, that was a great year. We had him decently ranked, I think, in our top 10 first basemen.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, he just did his regular thing when he gets hurt. But it is what it is. Cron now going into the second half. We don't have to rely on him for, 500-600 at bats. We only have to rely on him for about 250 to 300 at bats. And what he could do in that short window is probably a lot. And I could probably count on him more now than I can from the beginning of the season to make it all the way to the end, because clearly that isn't the case. But if I'm rounding it out, I don't have a first baseman. I never really recovered from losing Vinny Pasquantino. CJ Cron could be a great pickup to just kind of slot in there because he's probably out there in a lot of leagues. I think the ownership percentage is somewhat reasonable.
64.
So, I mean, he's out there in about, 36% of leagues. Like, I mean, quite honestly, he could be a great flex. I mean, a great utility. He could be a great first baseman replacement. So, definitely consider adding CJ Cron in those leagues where he's available. But also, too, maybe if you could try to slide him in there cheap on a trade real quick before the trade deadline hits, see if you can get a little extra production. Somebody will probably throw him away for free because they're probably pissed off that he's been hurt all season.
Yeah, man, great take on Cron. Got a lot of power upside. The Rockies are hopefully going to be a little better with Chris Bryant coming back from the IL as well. Tovar picking it up. Ryan McMahon's doing all right. And, they actually got a couple of guys in the minors that are pretty good as well that maybe we'll see this year at some point. And you know what? If you subscribe to us on Subtext, we might be talking about those guys a little bit sooner than later. But, guys, that is all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And to our everydayers and new listeners, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. We will be back into our regular routine next week. So, guys, until then, see you.
Peace.